بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Inshallah, today we are going to be starting from the prayer of the sick person. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Babu salat al-maridi kayfa yusalli al-marid. How to pray of a sick person is how the prayer of a sick person is performed. If someone is unable to stand for the entire prayer, or it will be difficult due to the presence of strong pain, or one fears aggravation of his present illness, or that it may delay his recovery. If he were to pray standing, then it is permissible for him to pray seated, offering bowing and prostration. And one may sit any way he likes. So the first ruling is that the type of illnesses that are allowed for a person to skip the qiyam. It's the type of illness that is severe, which is not enabling a person to stand up, or he has an existing condition that if he was to stand up and force himself to do so, then the pain will increase or the illness will increase. Or the treatment or the healing of the illness can be delayed. All of these reasons are for a person to sit down and skip the qiyam. And over here to be noted that if a person he is not able to stand up, the best position for him to pray is sitting down on the ground, so he is able to perform his sajda. Or he can sit down for qiyam and then do ruku and sajda. And then if one is unable to bow or prostrate, but capable of sitting, even though leaning against something, he is permitted to pray sitting and nod his head for the bowing and prostration, for ruku and sujood. And his nod of the prostration is to be lower than the nod for the bowing. And if one does not lower his head further down, then the prayer stands invalid. So the sujood has to be a little bit more bowing than or nodding his head than the ruku. The same rule applies if a person cannot prostrate but able to perform the bowing, meaning ruku. In that he is to nod for both of them. So if you're not able to do sajda but you're able to do ruku, then you will do ruku and sajda both with the ishara. The basis of this rule is that hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. A man visited a visited man, and he saw him praying on a cushion. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam removed it, after which the man took a stick and began to lean on it. This was also removed by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as he said, pray sitting if you can, and if you are unable, then pray by indicating, meaning nodding, and make your nod for the prostration lower than your nod of the bowing. The next is, and one is not to elevate anything to his face to prostrate on, such as a board, though if he does not lowers his head further down from the position, then for the position of bowing, the prayer is invalid. If not, then the prayer still stays. The prayer is deemed invalid because one has left the compulsory prostration through nodding. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Whosoever you is able to perform prostration, then he should perform it, and whosoever is unable to, then he should not raise something on to his face to prostrate on, but rather for bowing and prostration should be indicated with his head." So If a person he is not able to perform sujood, for him to is to nod, and he should not bring something towards his face to do the sajda on it. Now, if something is placed like a table or something, and he goes down to do sajda on it, this practice is considered permissible according to the scholars. However, the contemporary scholars differ on this. Some of them say that he should not put a table even though he is bowing towards it. And some say it is permissible to put a table and bow on it. Both opinions are taken by the scholars. In the text of Al-Mujtaba, it states that the manners of nodding for the bowing and prostration appear to resemble each other, in that it is enough to just slightly move forward with the head and body. So the ruku is going to be just the head and a little bit of the body, and the sujood is going to be a little bit more bowing down. The narration thereafter becomes apparent with a proof that permits the sight movement of the body and head. Shaykh al-Islam held that if one prays by indicating and slightly moves his head for the bowing, and then for the prostration slightly moves his head, then it is permitted according to Imam Abu Hanifa rahmatullah alayh. Ibn Fadl, on the other hand, holds the view that it is not valid because of the action required has not been performed, and that the reality of the indication is to lower the head. Additionally, some scholars say that if a person suffers from an ailment with his forehead and nose, such as severe dizziness, then he is permitted to pray with indication, meaning nodding, and he is not required to lean forward as far as possible. So due to excessive nodding your head down, if that causes dizziness, so you can just move your head, and that will suffice your salah. وَإِن تَعَسَّرَ الْقُعُودُ, if it becomes difficult to offer praying sitting down, one is permitted to lie down on his back or on his side and to offer the prayer through indication, although the first option is best, meaning lying on your back and then moving your head to perform your salah, i.e. down on one's back, because one has more of his body facing the direction of the prayer. And during this posture, one is to place the cushion under his head in order to direct his face towards the Qibla, not the sky, and must raise the knees if possible to avoid extending his feet towards the direction of the prayer. So he can lift up his feet, bend his knees, and then put his head up towards the Qibla a little bit, and then he can pray in that direction. If one is unable to pray by nodding his head for 5 prayers or less, then they are postponed so long as he understands communication, meaning that his rational faculty is functioning. And this is mentioned in Al-Hidayah as the correct view. So if a person is not able to pray, even with that position of lying down, and he would, delay his prayer until he is able to pray. If one is unable, and then if the illness continues, then they are giving a next opinion that the author of Hidayah mentions resolved this issue, confirming in the book of Al-Tajnis and Al-Mazid that if a person is unable to indicate with his head for more than 5 prayers and still maintain his understanding of communication, then he is not required to make up for the prayers. So all the 5 prayer salah time have gone, and the 6th salah has started, and this person he's not able to even move his head while he's lying down, or he's not able to come to his senses, or even if he's in his senses but he's not able to move due to his body not able to function, then he is exempt from the salawat, and he would not no longer will have to make up after he becomes better, because this situation or this condition will be considered as the condition of not being in a stage of having to perform the prayers. So that exemption is given by Islam, by the fuqaha. And this view is the most sound according to Imam Qadi Khan rahmatullah alayhi and others like him in the book of Imam Muhammad rahmatullah alayhi's book Al-Muhid. This was also the opted view of Shaykh al-Islam and Fakhr al-Islam Allama Sarqsi rahmatullah alayhi. In addition, the book Al-Dhahriya states that it is dearest report which with the fatwa inclining towards it. It is also opted the view of Allama Kasani in his Bada'is. So the most sound view in regards to this is, however, there are differences of opinion, but the most sound view in the Hanafi fiqh. Imam Shafi'i rahmatullah alayhi, however, says that even a person, he can pray with his eyes indication, he is allowed to move on and pray his salah. Whereas Imam Abu Hanifa says no, at least some of the body parts have to be in functioning position for a person to go and pray his salah. It is not valid to indicate with eyes and eyebrows or heart. And if one does so, it is not correct, because the prostration is linked with the head, not with the eyes, eyebrows, or heart. And this is, of course, the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. Again, I did mention that Imam Shafi'i, and that view is also mentioned here, that this is according to the madhab Imam Shafi'i rahmatullah alayhi. If a person indicates with such things, meaning his eyes, etc., then the salah will still be considered valid. While Imam Abu Hanifa rahmatullah alayhi says he is going to delay, and if this condition exists more than 5 prayers, then this person, he is exempt from praying due to his condition. If one is able to stand but unable to bow and prostrate, then he is to offer the prayers through indication while seated. This means that one is to bow and prostrate by nodding his head, while seated should be unable to do so normally. So if a person, he is not able to stand up and pray, then he is going to sit down, and then rest of the salah will be considered as with the ishara, meaning he would nod his head for ruku and sajda. When عَرَضَ لَهُ مَرَضٌ, if one begins the prayer in sound health, but it is overcome by illness, he is to continue the prayer in the posture he is available, even he is able, even it is through indication. And this is the most correct view. So let's say if a person started his prayer, and while he was praying, after 1 rakah or 2 rakah, some of his body part are not able to move, or he becomes completely stiff. So whatever position is comfortable for him, he would just continue the salah in that position and finish his salah. If a person, he is sitting down in a sitting position, offering through his salah through his bowing and prostration, but then recovers from his illness, he is to continue the prayer, although if one offered part of his salah nodding and the other half by doing ruku and sujood, he will have to restart his salah according to all of the opinion of Imam Abu Hanifa rahmatullah alayhi. So according to Imam Abu Hanifa rahmatullah alayhi, if a person, he started his salah with an illness, and then later on, while he was praying his salah, he recovers. So Imam Abu Hanifa rahmatullah alayhi says that the best option for him to restart the salah with all of the positions to be performed properly, meaning the ruku and sujood and etc. Why? Because he is able to move from one position from significant to insignificant, but not from insignificant to significant, right? So performing all the postures of salah, it's a significant act. And doing ishara or sitting down, it's an insignificant act. Because of the illness, he's gone to that position. So now for him to switch from being illness to back to normal, that is, he should start his salah again. But if he is praying his salah with ruku and sujood and later on he becomes weak, he can continue to finish his salah with ishara or sitting down. If a person suffers insanity or lost conscious, fainting away for 5 prayers or less, then he is liable to make them up. If the prayer missed exceeds 5, the 6th prayer time expires, then he's not liable to make them up. So less than 5 prayer, if a person stays unconscious, whenever he gains conscious and whenever he becomes sound and better, he's going to make up for those salah. But if a person, he is unconscious for more than 5 prayers, then he won't have to make up any of his salah. And this can, a lot of people stay in coma for months. So when they get up from coma, they don't have to pray. They don't have to make up the salah that they have lost, neither the fasting that they have missed. Why? Because they were not mukallaf, meaning one of the criteria for all of these actions to become obligatory is having the understanding, being able to understand sanctity is one of the important things. So if that is lacking, then of course the hukum does not apply to you. When does the prayer and fasting becomes excuse from one's responsibility? And when one is not required to make up for the will? Mata la yajibul isa, meaning this is considering that you are leaving some of the fasting in your life and you are giving a will to your family members or whoever your kinships are that make up this after I pass away. إذا مات المريض ولم يقدر على الصلاة بالإيماء لا يلزمه الإيصاء بها وإن قلت. If a sick person dies and was not able to pray through indications, i.e. nodding, then it is not necessary on him before dying to make a will, wasiyah, instructing his heirs to pay the fee for prayers even if they were only a few. Okay. Now when it comes to the fidya of salah, so fidya of fasting is something that is agreed upon all the scholars, that if you have missed the fast and you have not made up for that fast, then you should give the fidya for that fast. And the fidya is nisf sa, half of the sa of wheat, which is equivalent to the amount of, depending on the area, but in the area that we are in, about $4, $3.50 to $4 per fast. This is the minimum requirement. Okay. Now, does this rule applies to salah or not? There are 2 opinions of the scholar. The first opinion, and this is also the ikhtilaf within the Hanafi fiqh, that and is also found in other fiqhs also, that the first opinion is that there is no fidya for salah. And why there is no fidya for salah? Because there has not been a direct indication from the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that mandates for a person to give fidya of his missed salah the way it mandates for the fasting. So where do the opinion of the scholars come from in regards to the salah, for the fidya of the salah? So the scholars say that since one of the fara'id is mentioned, and that is fasting, so tahsinan, taking the opinion of the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ regarding fasting, they also apply it to the prayers. The way the prayer is supposed to be given fidya for those that were not made, as long as those salah or fasting were missed during a sound situation, and a person, he was alive to give that will before he died. And then they say that the way you have to make up for the fasting, similarly that will apply to the to the prayers also. Now, this is at the end of the day, this is a situation between this individual and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the fara'id of fasting, it's something that is compulsory. Now let's say if a person, he was he was unconscious, he didn't have any conscious throughout the whole month of Ramadan. He was not able to move, he was not able to even, he didn't know what was going on, and not even for a single day of the whole month of Ramadan. And then this person becomes in a category of that who is going through insanity, or he has fainting, and the fasting ruling does not apply to him, meaning he doesn't have to, his family members don't even have to give fidya. This is only when a person, he is in his conscious, but health-wise he is not able to fast. But if health-wise he is not able to fast and he is conscious, but if he is unconscious, then there is no fidya for fasting either. This situation also, the case of the traveler or the sick person breaks his fast in the month of Ramadan, but dies before residence or before sound health. Then in this way, this person will also be exempt from writing a will or being compensated for the prayers or this fasting that he has missed. This means the travel died before becoming a resident, and the sick person died before regarding sound health, before regaining sound health. Verily, they are not required to make a will instructing their heirs to redeem the lost days, because in both situations they were not in a position to make up the days. Okay. When is one required to make a wasiyah or will for his salah? وَعَلَيْهِ الْوَصِيَّةُ بِمَا قُدِرَ عَلَيْهِ وَبَقِيَ بِذِمَّتِهِ. A person who breaks his fast in Ramadan, even when he had no reason to break it, is required to make a will instructing his heirs to pay the fidya for the days that he was able to make up, but did not, and does remain in a debt upon him until he died. This means if a person was capable of making up the days but did not, and therefore died, leaving the lost days as debt, then he is to make a will for those days which he was able. In the will, this person is to leave instruction of his heirs or responsible family members to redeem the missed days for him. So now, a lot of people have many salawat that they were not able to make up, right? And later on, they decide. So it is always best to write that amount down somewhere and have some of the family members known about that number, that if God forbid, this person dies, then at least the compensation can go accordingly, especially for the fasting, because that is muttafaq alayh. Everyone agrees upon that. فيخرج عنه وليه من ثلث ما ترك لصوم كل يوم ولصلاة كل وقت حتى الوتر نصف صاع من بر أو قيمته. That the heirs or the responsible family member is to pay his debt from the third of the wealth which the deceased left, for every day of fasting and every prayer that was missed, even the witr prayer, according to Imam Abu Hanifa only, because according to him, witr is wajib, which is close to fard. So it has its qada. According to other a'immas, witr is considered as sunnah, does not require for a person to make up for it if he has missed it. The fee to be paid half the measure of wheat saw or its equivalent value. And that is, I already mentioned the amount of that. وَإِن لَمْ يُوصِي وَتَبَرَّعَ عَنْهُ وَلِيُّهُ جَازَ. And if he does not if the deceased does not instruct the heirs or the person who is executing the will, but the family members, they still paid on his behalf, it will still be considered valid and permissible. Imam Muhammad rahmatullah alayhi held that if the next of if the next of kins pays the due, it is permitted, inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala willing. So that is also will go towards the salah. Same way will be indicated towards salah those who hold the opinion of paying the fidya of the missed salah. It is not permissible to fast on behalf of a deceased, nor can one pay on behalf of the deceased. So you cannot fast on behalf of someone, nor you can pray on behalf of someone. Some people they say that the people or the poor people that you're giving money to, they should fast or they should go and pray because you're paying them. No, that's not the case. The fidya, it's the compensation of the act that you have missed. So the act does not need to take place anymore. And there is no salah or fasting that anyone can do on behalf of someone. If you have missed it, then and you're not able to do it, then the compensation is going to be the fidya. Now they mention a method how to go over the situation where a person he is not wealthy. And they say that you find a person who is recipient or who has the eligibility of receiving the fidya, and then you give him the money and then he gives it back to you, and then you give him the money and then it gives it back to you. In that way the faridah will be done. But then again, if a person he is financially incapable of paying off the salah or the fasting of his deceased or the loved one that has passed away, then Allah Azza wa Jal, he is aware of the situations of individuals, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by looking at the scenario and situation, the forgiveness can be given by Allah Azza wa Jal, and there is no one to question that forgiveness. However, the fuqaha has mentioned a method through which at least a satisfaction can be guaranteed for the individual, that at least I have done my part in regards to paying off the debt of fasting or salah for my loved one who have left from this world. Who are the recipient of fidya? It is permissible to give the entire fidya to one poor person for all the outstanding prayers, though one cannot do this if he is paying the fee of a broken oath. So the fidya for salah and fasting, it is executed a little differently than those that are known as penalty, because the penalties are a little different. When a person makes an oath and he is not living up to that oath, then he has to pay, which is called the kafaratul yamin, the compensation of his oath. Now this compensation is to be given to 10 poor people, and it cannot be just given to one person. If it's given to 10 poor people, then it should be given on different days, so on and so forth. However, that ruling does not apply to this. One fidya, the entire salah fidya can be given to one person, or the entire fasting fidya can be given to one person. Okay. The next chapter is Babu Qada'il Fawaid, how to perform the mixed prayers. This is a muttafaq alayh, an agreed upon opinion amongst the scholars, that the salawat that are missed by an individual, it is compulsory upon him to pray those salawat whenever he gets better, or if he was neglecting, then whenever Allah Azza wa Jal gives him the tawfiq and the hidayah, then all the salawat should be made up for. And then, according to Imam Abu Hanifa rahmatullah alayhi, along with salawat, the witr is something that also should be made up for. الترتيب بين الفائتة والوقتية وبين الفوائت مستحقة أي لازم. To maintain the sequence order between a missed prayer and the current one is necessary. That is, that one must offer the missed prayer before the current one if there are few missed prayers. So there are two categories of individuals. The first category is called the Sahibut Tartib, the one who has no missed prayer left in his account. This person is called Sahibut Tartib. Now, the ruling for this person is that until he doesn't make up the missed prayer, he is not able to perform the next salah. And if he does pray his next salah, then he performed the missed prayer, then both of the salah needs to be repeated again. So that order needs to be maintained, according to Imam Abu Hanifa rahmatullah alayh, as well as Imam Shafi'i rahmatullah alayh holds a similar view that the tartib, it's important to pray the missed salah before the other one. Now, if a person has a lot of missed prayers, then of course he can pray the next salah, he can pray the missed salah after the next salah is done. So let's say if a person has 2 days of prayers are missing in his account, and today he decided to pray the Isha salah. So after Isha salah, he can make up yesterday's Isha, he can make up today's Maghrib, he can make up today's Asr. All of that is permissible to do so. But if a person is Sahibut Tartib, then of course it will not be permissible until he makes up. Or for him to make up the salah that he has missed, he has to go over 5 salawat, and on the 6th salah he is able to make up for the salah that he has missed, because that's the ruling for the person who is keeping the sequence in regards to salah is concerned. Okay, bima yaqsid hudud tartib, when does this order becomes invalid? The order is excused with one of the three things. ضيق الوقت المستحب في الأصح والنسيان. The order is excused when the desirable part of the prayer time is insufficient, is in allowing the performance of the missed prayer plus the correct one. And this is the most correct view. An example of this, an example of a disliked time is the period before sunset, in which case one may pray the current prayer, then the missed one, if he cannot pray both in the desirable time. So this is where the tartib, even your sahibut tartib, you are allowed to go against your tartib. Number 2, forgetting is an exception in the order because a person cannot offer something that he cannot remember. And number 3, the third is when the missed prayer becomes 6, not including the witr. Verily, the witr is not the reason to excuse the order, even though one must still perform it in order after the Isha prayer. Okay, so let's say, as I mentioned, that if he had if he had 6 salah has passed by and he has the salah remaining. So, for example, he has yesterday's Asr remaining, or yesterday's Asr remaining. So yesterday's Maghrib and Isha went past, that's 2, and today's 4 salah has went past. So this is 6 salah. So now he's able to make up for his Asr of yesterday's Asr, and that will not break his tartib. And that will be excused from the situation of tartib. That means he won't have to make up the salah that he has all missed. وَلَا يَعُدُّ التَّرْتِيبَ بِعَوْدِهَا إِلَى الْقِلَّةِ. The sequence order remains excused even if a person, even if one performs some of the missed prayers, so that they are reduced in numbers. So if the numbers reduced, the tartib will not come until you have 0 salah left. And neither is the order restored if one misses a new prayer after missing 6 old ones, for the reason that once the order is excused after 6, the missing of a new prayer does not restore the order, and this is the soundest view. So if a new prayer comes in, right, then the order would not be excused, meaning just because he had 1 salah and he made up for that salah later on, he missed another salah, the order will not be repeated again, will not come back until he has 0 salah remaining. Okay, if a person offers an obligatory prayer and during the obligatory prayer remembers the missed one, even if it is a witr, then the prayer becomes invalid in a suspended form. So if he remembers in his salah that, I had missed my prayer, then that prayer will become invalid only for that person who is considered a sahibut tartib. If one continues to pray 5 prayers, although which he remembers he missed one, then all are invalid in a suspended form. When the time of the 5th prayer ends, which means the 6th prayer time enters, the prayer are covered to valid prayers according to Imam Abu Hanifa rahmatullah alayh, and they remain valid, provided the missed prayers is made up when the time of the 5th prayer ends. So after the time of the 5th prayer ends, then in the 6th prayer time when it begins, as I mentioned earlier, that is already 6th prayer time already began, is coming to an end, meaning Maghrib is. So yesterday's Asr, he is able to make up. Okay, so now they have given a diagram here how a person's salah can be performed. So the afternoon prayer is suspended, and then the sunset prayer is suspended, and that's how the situation will work, and then he will go back to tartib. And then they mentioned that وَإِن كَثُرَتِ الْفَوَائِدْ يُحْتَاجُ لِتَعْيِينِ كُلِّ صَلَاةٍ. If one has missed large numbers of prayer, it is necessary to make them up until one predominantly believes that he is free of debt, meaning he should make up all the salawat that he has missed. Now he will have to specify each missed salah. So how would he specify each missed salah? He would say the last dhuhr that I have missed, this is going to be making up for that dhuhr. Or last asr that I have missed, this is going to be making up for the missed one that I have done. So that's how you will have to intend to make up for the salawat. And this will also continue to the fasting, right? And if the fasting are missed multiples, then of course you will have to go with the last one, and that's how you will continue. Okay, and then they mentioned that if a person who becomes Muslims in an enemy land, meaning not Darul Islam, and does not pray or fast and does not know the requirements of Islamic law, is excused from having to make up for the missed salah or the obligations that he have missed. Why? Because he has no sources to go and learn about Islam, and if he has accepted his faith, then only when the sources become available, then and only he would be told to go and perform the obligatory salah and learn about the obligatory salah. Next chapter is about Babu Idrak al-Faridah, and that is catching the prescribed prayers and the rulings of that, inshallah. And we will continue this next week. If anyone has any questions regarding the things that we have discussed today, please, you're allowed to put them forward, inshallah.